All right, everyone just click. Okay, welcome to everyone to Warwick Zoom Garden Plot Season 4, episode number 2. And we're a little bit farther along with this crazy weather. And as usual, tonight's agenda, we have introductions to any new people or old people who haven't been here last week. Garden updates will be Sarah and Dorothy. Yeah, again, for new people, this is we usually try to give a community garden update and an individual update every Zoom garden plot, just so we get an idea of the progress. A lot of announcements tonight, show and tell, and Q&A, and of course within there a little shimmy in place for a minute. Put that in there. And Sarah, if you are ready,
I'm ready.
I'll let you take over the descriptions.
Okay.
But before the show started, I was showing Sarah these slides so she would know how they'd been arranged. And I would put a slide up and it would be a huge delay before she saw on her screen that it was up. Can you see the first 3 pictures, Sarah?
Right. It's something with my bandwidth, but wasn't going to fiddle around with it as the meeting was starting. So we'll just work through this. So anyway, I think all of you know that I am a coordinator of the Warwick Community Garden and that we are a group garden. We do not have any individual plots. So I thought I'd show you, our different gardens and where we're at now, which is where everyone's at now, ground zero, since it's been cold. The middle picture just gives you an idea of our primary garden. And then the other pictures are showing you the beds, which you will see are pretty much empty and people cleaning up. At this point, we put our peas in on the 26th of March. There was no putting them in on St. Patty's Day. It was, freezing out or something. And the peas have actually just started to poke their little heads up above the ground this Saturday. That's how crazy the weather is. We have some, back where that fellow's standing, there's some spinach that we overwintered. And then we planted some arugula and some leafy green vegetable in there on the 2nd, and it's starting to come up already. And then we put some beets in this last Saturday, but it's just the weather's been too erratic. And as we go along, I'll show you what I have coming up for this week. So this is the main garden.
Sarah, so you're putting in the arugula from seed, or
right.
someone started in a
No, everything we've done so far is direct sow.
Okay.
If you're new and you don't know what that means, direct sow means you take the seeds and you put them right in the ground. No seed starting, transplanting, any of that. There's also been a lot going on in the orchard. I don't know if Arnold's on the call or not, but the trees didn't really get pruned last year. And Arnold and a group of gardeners have been out there, some of it bitter cold. I went over one day and my hands, like I had to get in the car and put the heat on, but that's just been going on slowly but surely for about a month, pruning the trees. And our friend Arnold, he has a lot of equipment. He's a real fan of power equipment. So he's got the saw up on the stick and the whole bit. And then this picture on the other side with all the greenery, that's just, a little taste of what's to come one of these days. And I also put that in there because we have I call it an auxiliary garden in the orchard. And that's where you're seeing the sweet potatoes and the winter squash from last year. That's a bare ground now, of course.
And you have a lot of pawpaws, right?
Oh yeah, the pawpaws were the big deal last year.
How many do you have? How many pawpaw trees all together?
Two pawpaw trees.
Wow, they produced so much. Wow.
Yeah, everyone was sick of pawpaws, but we were so excited. And then they're really hard to get the stupid seeds out, So by the end of the pawpaws, everyone was sick and tired of the pawpaws. And I put this in here. This is another bed. We originally had this as an auxiliary bed for several years. It was a brush pile, and the community center asked us to fix it up, and we did. We fenced it in, and we were growing root crops, winter squash, things that took a long season that we didn't really have enough room to use in the big garden because they took up a lot of room and a lot of, and we did the garlic in there because the garlic you plant in October and you don't harvest it till July. So that ties up your bed for a long period of time. And it worked fairly well until people started helping themselves, but not just one or two things here and there wiping us out. I don't know, at some point the community center wanted it back and then they didn't do anything with it. So long story short, we were given back this bed last August and it was in terrible shape. So I'm just showing you, the easy way to build a garden bed. We'd whacked it all down and then we put cardboard all over it. And the DPW brought us in a few loads of the Village of Warwick's wonderful, it's a compost mulch. So it's all covered with compost mulch now. And we're gonna plant mostly flowers in here and maybe a few crops because all the people really enjoy getting flower arrangements. And if you've been to the farm market, it's like $8 to get a bouquet of cut flowers. So we're going to
More than that.
I know.
$8 is no way. That's double that.
I was being
Generous.
generous.
Sarah, can
And
I ask on, I know we touched on this last week, but I wanted to be sure. You have the cardboard down and then you put the mulched chips. Do you, after that, before you plant, do you pull up what's left of the cardboard or will it be totally disintegrated by then?
No, the beauty of this is when you put it down in the fall like that and you put enough of the dirt over it, it's pretty much all disintegrated. So we'll go in there and I'm going to plant actual just rows, So we'll go in and get some more mulch for the walkways, and then we'll have we have one garden member who really likes to do heavy work. It's the most wonderful thing ever. So I'll have him turn it over. And if we need to add some more, we will. But that's the beauty of this cardboard method.
Okay.
If you want to do it in the spring, you can do it with newspaper, because the cardboard does take a while to break down. You can't just put it down now and think you're going to garden in it unless you dump a foot of soil in there.
Right.
Well, yeah. So that's good to see for Jen and Sandra and stuff, to see how Sarah started from. Right. You don't have to dig. You smother everything, layer up on it,
You
and
smother it.
Yeah. So easy. So easy.
Well, you do have to have either a dump truck or someone who will bring you a load of stuff in the dump truck.
Right.
Sarah, can I ask you? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
I've been so curious to use some of that beautiful, mulchy compost from over at the park. But I was worried that it's too hot to go directly in this season. Do you wait for it to and turn it or you go right in?
Oh no, they make it somewhere over there in the back of the DPW. And then they bring it out. Do you know where the part of the pile is?
Are you talking about the pile over at Town Park where that pile?
No, that's that part over at Town Park. That started after all the big storms, and the contractors dumped chips over there. That's chips, and there's another pile of chips out by the Humane Society, or there was. This is something the Village of Warwick does.
I've talked to DPW about it before, and I've been told that they have a huge amount of it around. I just have no idea how to go about. Anyway, I'll work that out. I wasn't sure if you could plant.
No, yeah, it is available. It's not it's not the most amazing stuff, and you probably have to sift a lot of it out. There's
You have to
a lot
sift it.
chunks of stuff in there. Well, yeah,
I
again,
mean,
for new gardeners, if you have a pickup, whatever, you can load up your,
or if you take a
with,
trailer over there,
yeah,
if
wood
you,
chips and compost offered by the
there's
village of Warwick.
there's no wood chips over there by the village anymore.
Yeah, but right, there is another area for, what were you saying the wood chips are?
The wood chips are a different area.
Right, so I'm
Over
saying
by the,
there are two separate areas. If you want wood chips or compost, those are two great resources
right,
that is offered by the village.
it used to be more of a compost. Now we call it a compost / mulch. But it's outside the gate. Like you can't get into the brush pile without showing your village ID. Because as I tell people, we in the village pay another tax. So the use of that brush pile runs me over $1,000 a year. So I'm, but
Yeah, we just, you've earned it.
we've earned it. I know people go, what do you mean? I can't use it. I say, well,
But Nicole, yeah, I mean, yeah, Nicole, I would probably mix it in with soil, but it shouldn't be that hot. A lot of it has been out
it's
for,
not hot. When it gets
yeah,
to the part where you can
it's
pick it
broken
up,
now
it's
for a
not
while.
hot.
It's
It's
broken now
not
for a
hot.
long time.
It's
It's
just
not
got
like new
chunks
stuff.
there's chunks of things, and sometimes you find a little trash in there, but it's a lot of free dirt.
So I would use it, but right, I would probably mix it in if you have
Yeah, yeah,
topsoil or something. But and it's not it's been curing for a while.
yes, definitely. You lost Nicole, I think.
Oh, okay. When she comes back, we'll repeat. But continue on your journey.
So anyway, we've got the rhubarb coming in nicely. And then these are trays I started. Actually, I'm looking. I have a little sheet here you can't see where I put down when I put things in the ground, when they germinate. We'll see. Early on, I'm really gung ho on this type of thing. And then as the months go on, it's like, yeah, whatever, I put it in. But this, I started partially in February 20th. And then I'm growing some perennial pollinators because we want to put a small pollinator garden into the orchard. And there's certain types I've always liked. So they take a long time to grow, like they won't really be ready to flower till next year. But I started the orange butterfly weed, horse mint, lemon mint, and some hollyhock, tarragon. And then to go in this middle tray, the upper tray there's broccoli rabe, there's Swiss chard, there's bok choy. What else do I have in there? Some kale, and I had some romaine lettuce seeds. So I've never really done the planted lettuce in a seed starting tray, but I figured there wasn't any starting in the ground, so I've got some romaine lettuce that should make some small heads. And then down below, that's where there's parsley and tarragon and some other herbs going on, and mystery seeds that I put in to see what they are. So the idea, it's finally warm this week, as we all know. Woo! We usually garden only on Sundays, but I'm going to get a crew together like Thursday or Friday morning, and we're going to put a lot of these seedlings in, and then start doing direct seeding every couple of weeks with the greens. So
And where did you start these, in your house or in the garden? Where are these
this is my house.
Okay.
This is my house. I have
Sarah, is that sage in the lower left-hand corner?
no. I have sage plants, but that I think is arugula. I had some
Okay.
seeds sitting around. I threw them into that little container. No, I have a light rack and the heat mats, the whole setup. So these have been going out onto the deck now for about 3 weeks. So I started my peppers, and I put the peppers out one of these afternoons last week with a big dome on it, and I fried like half of my pepper seedlings.
I
Things
know.
happen,
Very, very frustrating. You can't undo that.
So Sarah,
No.
you start all the, you do all this preliminary work and the volunteers come in later when you're putting it in the ground?
Well, we have garden sessions. On Sunday morning is a regular session, and then once we get to the end of May, we have a Thursday afternoon session. And those are the set times we garden. And then we have emergency sessions when there's something that really has to be done and the weather's been, crazy or, whatever. So that's why we haven't, it's been too cold. I have a soil thermometer I have out on my deck and a planter, and some days it's 60 degrees, which is a decent temperature for things to germinate, and it's going down to like 30 every night. So like I said, the things are not germinating quickly. It's been cold. There was frost on my car this morning. But hopefully, so then I'll get a crew together and we'll put these seedlings in the ground.
So but in these sessions, the earlier sessions, are people helping you with potting these or planting these?
Oh yeah,
You
they
know, in the
plant.
trays and all.
Oh no, I do all that.
That's what I wondered. I just wondered about your
I'm sorry.
process. It seems like you're doing an awful lot of work.
I do a lot of work.
Mhm.
One year I had people over to show them the seed starting process, because everyone was all excited. And then they saw what was involved and they weren't that excited. But I will say, for all you out there,
You had a big crowd and you turned around and everyone was gone.
remember, we need a lot of plants. So like tomato plants, I'll start an entire tray of tomatoes are really easy to grow, quite honestly. But remember, we've got 35 members and we're not giving you a full amount of food. You're giving you, some food for that many people. I'm putting in 36 plus tomato plants. How much would it cost you to go out and buy all those tomato plants?
Yeah.
It's cost prohibitive. When you have your own a little garden, you can go over to I forget the lady's name.
Sherman Farm is good.
Sherman's, and then there's a lady with the
Sherman's-
organic.
Yeah, Barbara.
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 She's really good, but you see the prices.
Midsummer
Yeah.
Farm.
Summer Farm.
But you see the prices. If you're putting in a few plants on your deck, sure you can spend $5 on a plant. We're self-sustained from our dues. So by spending $5 on a plant's not in the cards.
Yeah.
So I grow,
Actually, Corwin's has a pretty good deal. You can buy
Corwin's, yeah,
you can buy like a tray of a lot for like
right,
$15 or something.
If
right.
you do mail order, $5 is about average for a plant, because I do mail order, and then that's about average, $5, maybe 4 if you get them on sale.
Yeah, it adds up, right? Yeah, because the community
Oh,
garden
yeah.
you have to take to advantage. You have to grow a lot of everything. Like, oh, it's right. I grew 20 tomatoes. That could be gone in one day. Like you need to have a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yes. So most of the greens I grow from seed. I don't, direct seed. I don't usually, I've started them in the past, for fun. And this year I started them because I knew it was going to be a late spring. And I didn't want to wait until now to put the seeds in the ground and then have some crop, weeks later. So this way there's going to be some crop coming on, in a few weeks. You have to have some enticement for people to come, something besides digging and moving piles of dirt around, right? There has to be a reward. But yeah, it's a hobby.
All right, so let's any other
Anyway, that
any
went
other
on long
slides?
enough. I talked way too long. Sorry.
No, we asked a lot of questions.
Oh.
Any other slides? Okay, so now Dorothy,
Hello, everyone.
how are you? Please
All
share
right.
your going-ons is.
Okay. So my garden is 60 by 28 feet, and it is, I'd say,
Wow.
at least half perennials. So I have 24 different varieties, 130 plants, fruits and vegetables. And I know looking at this, you can't see anything.
Wow.
But
That looks like a community garden as well.
Yeah.
it's a full-time job, but I'm retired, so that's what I spend my time doing. So I've got asparagus and some dwarf blueberries and cranberries and currants and gooseberries and dwarf black mulberries and strawberries and 3 columnar apples, crocus sativa, some hashiko bunching onions, a bed of heritage raspberries. I have, so in the top left-hand corner is my black mulberry starting to bud out. The bottom is the anise hyssop, Agostaki feniculum. Upper right is my Bob Gordon elderberries, and the bottom right is currants. I've red lake currants. I have 3 of those. So everything is, the perennials are starting to waken up. And then there's my hashiko
Oh, wow. That
onions.
looks very,
They're
exotic.
they're getting flowers. I love them because you can eat them practically year round. And
That's a perennial. That's a perennial onion. Oh no.
It's a perennial onion, and I don't. It's like a green bunching onion, and I just snip the top off of it. I don't dig up the onion because, of course, once you do that, you don't have it anymore. So, and I also have about 18 types of perennial flowers for the bees. So in the top right, and the other pollinators. So the top right hand corner is Eastern Columbine for the hummingbirds. And then underneath that is chives, which I eat. And then, of course, leave the flowers for the bees. So I've tried really hard to, it went from a straight, typical garden where one bed had one thing in it to now I've tried to make it as much of a permaculture design as I could, where there's all the beds have different things growing in them. And I incorporated the flowers to help with the pollinators. And I've tried to make sure I've got something blooming, or try to make sure I have 3 things blooming at any given time. So from my trees to my bushes to my small perennial flowers or herbaceous perennials. So
That's very clever. It's a very clever idea to always have something in bloom. Yeah.
Something
Very
in
nice.
bloom.
Very nice.
And that's my Swiss chard. I've got 3 varieties of that hardening out on the deck. And then my leeks and yellow onions and red onions hardening off. So they'll go in the ground maybe next week. And I usually plant like at least twice of what I think I'm gonna be able to get in the ground, in case I plant them too early and kill them off. So I'll have another transplanting, I should say, of my veggies. So
You grow the onions from seeds?
yes, I do, and I actually started those January 5th. So yeah,
Very impressive.
they,
Mhm.
Yeah,
they're
that's
really
nice.
slow. Thank you.
Very
It's
nice.
fun.
Wait. Do you have any more pictures or?
Um,
Oh no.
Oh.
Sorry. Wait. One second, Michael. Could you just go back for a moment to the first slides?
Is everything in a raised bed? It looks like
Yeah.
everything-
You plant the trees in the raised bed, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
planted trees
Oh,
in the
wow.
raised bed. I've got my 3 columnar apples are in a raised bed, And my dwarf black mulberries are in whiskey barrel halves because they tend to not stay dwarf, but the whiskey barrel kind of contains them. Because I really, I don't want to be getting up on ladders and trying to trim things that way. So
And I just love that idea of the putting the trees in the raised bed. That's a great idea.
yeah.
How old are your raised beds? Are they how long do they last?
Oh gosh.
They look great.
Yeah, they're
They
in good shape.
they get upkeep. So every year a couple boards will get replaced here and there.
Mhm.
Well, Dorothy is married to a ringer, so
He's a carpenter.
Oh,
Carpenter.
Ah,
yeah.
she's cheating.
That explains it.
Now we know why.
I heard like 5 to 7 years for boards.
That's
they look
It
great.
depends on the
around-
kind of wood. And then
Yeah.
the person who told me this, I forget his name. I actually met him over at the community garden. But he also pointed out you could paint your boards with linseed oil,
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
and they would last an extra year or two.
Yeah.
yeah.
And linseed
Yeah.
oil is you get the right kind, so it's not like
Right.
nothing toxic in there that you would.
Yeah,
Right.
but I should have done that, because we have the problem with our community gardens, we have a high water table. So I really should, that was such a great, maybe in the future, I might do that with trying to grow trees, maybe raise them way up so they won't like drown or anything. That's a great idea.
Mhm.
Do you put anything underneath because our garden, one of the rules is if you use a raised bed and it's not grandfathered in, you have to put chicken wire underneath to prevent small critters from coming up. I've never had a problem with or without, but do you do anything do you put any kind of wire underneath to prevent anything from coming up, or you don't, it doesn't bother you?
No, I don't have anything underneath them, but what I do have is over my strawberries, I have like a wire cage that goes over it when
Gotcha.
the berries come out, because everything loves them, and they'll
Yeah.
And I see you have fencing outside, so yeah, I mean, that would be
Yeah,
looks like it's
that's
pretty hard ground for someone to dig that far.
it's
Yeah, I don't think-
it's rocky.
Yeah, I think that rule we have is a little overboard. I don't think it's, but it's one of those things you have to do. I don't know. The problem when you put the wire there is if you want to dig deeper than the board, you hit the chicken wire. So
Right.
if you turn the soil over, you can't really.
Thank you, Dorothy. It's really very impressive.
Dorothy,
Michael?
Dorothy, would you think about replacing your grass paths? I mean, especially like a permaculture design. What might you do besides grow grass there, which is like the least permaculture item on the planet? Well, not the least, but
I don't know. My husband loves grass. So I had thought about putting wood chips down. And I thought about also putting other kinds of just different kinds of things that would be more helpful to the bees, like ground cover.
or even like
But-
clovers. There are different
Yeah,
kinds of
what
clover
about-
you could be growing
Like
there.
clovers.
I last year I did. I put white clover in. It's good, but it can get a little invasive. You gotta be careful. But if you sprinkle it in, your husband will never notice. It'll look like grass.
But we actually have quite a bit. It looks like a green grass, but it's there's a lot of other things in there. There's lots of plantain. So there's plantain and there's clover and there's we haven't done anything to it other than mow it.
Thank you. We
bought
probably
the
need to
place.
get moving on. Sorry about
Okay.
that, just so we could shimmy in place. We have,
That garden was beautiful. That's a beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
very impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing it bloom. So usually we take a little break since we're all sitting all day and on Zooms and vegetating. So we take 1 minute now you could put your mute button on.
And especially if Jen and Mike can get Eddie to sort of lead us in the shimmy in place, that would be great. Go, Eddie. Come on, Eddie. Let's show us what you got.
Say hello.
What's happening?
Oh.
That's okay.
Are we shimmied out?
We're shimmied out. And on to our next, which should be, we've got a lot of announcements.
We have a ton of announcements. Chad sent so many. I just
This morning, yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
little crazy.
There's community cleanups both in Greenwood Lake and in the village of Warwick. They go from 9 a.m. to 12. This says April 15th, but they actually both go from April 15th through 23rd. And they have, clean sweep events, so you can clean up your road and take whatever you collect to them. We're going to go on to the next one. If anyone wants any more details on these, just pop something in the chat and I'll email it to you after the session. There's a couple composting events. Well, this was a couple composting events. This is, you go ahead and tell them, Chad. You're.
Oh, well, this is through Orange Environment. They're doing growing organic vegetables from seed to harvest. That's going to be on Saturday, April 15th, and they're doing a home composting. Probably Jim Hall is probably doing that, our little composting expert. And I will actually be doing a compost class in the Greenwood Lake Library on the 20th, Thursday from 7 to 8. And we're in the library, we're also making seed bombs or something for the Earth Day celebration. And I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I shouldn't interrupt with this, but we were hosting one big event and somebody let the Zoom code go on social media, and we're always asking them not to do that. And then somebody showed up and they logged in and they were adult services. And I thought, oh, what kind of adult programming are they going to put on our screen? Like get Zoom bombed. It was these adult programs at Greenwood Lake Library. It was a librarian. It wasn't
Oh, okay.
it wasn't somebody who made any problems. When I saw that adult programs, I thought, oh my gosh, we have to let everyone clarify
movies.
that this is what's going on. It's about composting. It's not really.
This is good adults.
It's not, yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Go back. Go ahead, Chad.
Oh yeah, and so you're all
next
welcome
slide?
to sign up. Yeah, next one, and hopefully you're showing. And then, Michael, do you want to talk about your great?
Okay.
What you guys are doing for Sustainable Warwick?
First, that's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. A meeting on invasive plants at the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. That's out on Kings Highway.
That's next week.
Oh, the 18th.
Tuesday.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
And so, Sustainable Warwick is doing this deal. The appliances that hold refrigerants, the refrigerants are insanely intense greenhouse gases, and people a lot of times don't know it's that important to take care of them. So we're trying to make it easy to recycle your appliance with refrigerant. We're trying to make it free. It's free, although we will accept donations.
That's wonderful.
And we're also trying to publicize that it's important. So if you know anyone who's got an old air conditioner or dehumidifier sitting around, we weren't taking full-size refrigerators, but you can get $25 from Orange and Rockland if you've got an old one that's working. So you get a better deal from them. So we're not taking those. And that's going to be all next week.
Michael, what are you going to do with them?
We have somebody coming in from IRRI, Interstate Refrigerant Recovery, Inc. He will use a refrigerant pump to you poke into the pipe and suck it into a capture tank. And then that will be taken to a reclamation place that will turn it into reusable refrigerant. If it's emitted to the atmosphere, it's such an intense greenhouse gas. It really is a bother for everyone.
People don't realize refrigerants are huge. People don't realize they're number one, right? On the Project Drawdown, they were
They,
number one.
they were the #1 climate solution project drawdown, but then they split it into two parts. One is switching to new refrigerants, and the other is catching all the old ones. In this country, we're particularly behind on capturing the old ones.
No, and then the actual units, the metal, you take them to the scrapyard, I guess.
Yes, Guy Bogart from Warwick Sanitation is going to
Right.
manage those for us.
Great. No, I think it's a great program, but I was wondering, what are you going to do? You obviously just can't take them and dump them over at the
Yes,
dump.
exactly. And if you visit Sustainable Warwick, our homepage, you'll see there's a banner about this, and you click on that and you get to the web page specifically for that, and it gives all of these details.
Oh, great. Very good. Very
Right,
good.
there you go. Lots of announcements, a lot of good stuff going on. All right, let's see how Jen and Mike are doing.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
So we managed to clear out most of the weeds and we rebuilt the wall and we did some rocks because I wanted it to be a little bit more low maintenance year after year. And then we pruned all of the blackberry bushes and we pruned the apple tree and we also pruned our rose bush and we planted some peonies. So hopefully we'll get some perennials in our garden, and we also planted turnips. And we started a few seeds indoors.
Mike, right, we know Mike likes turnips, right?
He loves them.
So anyone has any extra turnips, you know where to send them.
He planted 126 turnips, so hopefully we'll get like 2.
How many? How many? Oh boy. All right. So I guess I could reverse that. If anyone wants any turnips, stop by Jen and Mike's house.
Exactly.
We'll see if we get any.
We repaired one of the beds that was in really bad shape. Spent a lot of time weeding. Amended a lot of the soil. We repaired a lot of the outside, which has got, it's like a little planter running all the way around the edge, and that's where a lot of the berry bushes were growing. And then not pictured, we had an overgrown part of the entrance to our house, which has a stone wall around the edge of it. And we whacked the whole thing. We ripped out all the weeds. We did a lot of work on it. We hope to turn that into an enormous flower bed. So we got a lot of projects going on.
Yeah, and then indoors we started tomatoes, bell peppers, basil, and chamomile and asters.
All right. So much for starting small. But,
We don't know how to do that.
I think I definitely remember someone saying last time, start small, but God bless you. Yes, you're definitely doing full on. I love it.
Yeah, we've been working on it every day for at least like an hour to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
We love it. Yeah.
Great.
That's all that matters. If you're enjoying it and you do it,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Is this your peony poking out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of our peonies. So we planted 6 peonies. That's one of them in the corner of the bed. And then the other 5 are at the entrance.
They look
of the
like they're
garden.
just starting to breach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's this one in the lower right?
That's probably a weed.
So that was in our turnip garden, but I think it's just a weed.
Yeah.
What are those
Yeah.
pipes? That irrigation?
Looks
Yeah.
So there's an inlet on the left-hand part of that picture. It's not shown, and you run the hose from the house, and then I would assume you can attach something there to drip feed or whatever to each individual bed, but we haven't done that. We haven't tested it out at least.
That's nice.
And
Yeah,
I do recommend, that once you get everything going, to cover the soil with something on those raised beds, straw.
Mhm.
I usually use straw, but I don't,
okay.
Straw's good.
yeah, you don't want to have exposed naked soil.
Okay.
Hay sometimes have seeds.
Exactly.
So
Hay has seeds, so
Definitely
straw is
want
better.
straw, not hay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, and you do that after the plants have started growing, I assume?
Or
Yeah,
Or
on your
down.
tomatoes, when you transplant your tomatoes, put it in right away because you don't want the soil in contact with any of the leaves or the water splashing because you'll get fungal spores and you'll get leaf diseases that'll take the plant out pretty quick. So as soon as you plant, when you transplant your tomatoes, just make sure you put straw down as soon as you transplant, and you can put it down pretty thick to keep the soil cool. But that's what I would advise, because once that's there's about 4 different types of fungal diseases, and once they catch on, it's just a game. It's just a race as to how quick the plant's going to die. Eventually, there's no real prevention after that, or cure after that. At least organically, it's very tough. You can spray copper, but it gets really tough.
So we were thinking like after we planted, we would put mulch, but do you think straw is better or?
I use straw.
Am I just
I like
wrong?
straw.
Strong.
Yeah, I use
So-
straw as well. Like some people say the wood chips mulch like absorb some nitrogen. I don't know if that's ever been confirmed, but people have said
Yeah,
that.
If
if
wood
you
chips
do
get
use-
buried, then they mess up the nitrogen cycle, I think. But as
Sure.
long as they're on
Yeah.
top of the soil, they're supposed to be feeding it from above.
Well,
But if they do get buried, you can always add a little blood meal to give the bacteria that's breaking down the wood chips the nitrogen they need, so they don't steal it from the plant. But that's kind of like more work. Like why go that route if you can help
Yeah.
it?
Well,
Yeah.
Dorothy, what do you use?
You're on mute, Dorothy. We can't hear you. We can't hear you more, Dorothy.
On my vegetables, I'll use straw
Oh.
because it promotes more of a bacterial soil growth.
Mhm.
In where I have my trees and my little shrubs, I'll use the wood chips because it promotes more of a fungal growth
Right. Yeah.
in the soil.
That's a good
mycorrhiza?
strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a couple of the question and answers, and by the way, people should be sending more questions and answers. Somebody had to come up with all of these questions. Someone.
Yes. All right,
So-
first question. When you first put seeds in the garden,
you know
Do you-
what?
do you cover them with anything to protect them from birds and critters?
No, I just give extra seed for the birds and the critters.
I don't. Does anyone on this call do on the Zoom plot cover them with anything?
Find that the straw helps protect the seeds from the birds. It doesn't
wonder-
stop them
Yeah,
totally.
that would be too tricky to cover them with. I mean, because then I guess what would you put down, netting, or then you have to take it up? I mean, some people I'm sure do it, but I don't.
I've seen and I've tried it once, and I will say it was not very successful. I've seen people do carrots, where you're like just kind of topically sowing the carrot seeds and then just putting a little bit of soil on top and covering them with a board.
I have
Mm.
seen that.
Right. Well, that's different. Carrots are different. Not that's not protecting from the critters. Just I've read a few things about that. That supposedly helps hold the moisture in a little bit better because carrots
Carrots
again,
Make it from
germinate.
anything moving around, so you
because-
don't have like a
yeah.
bunch of carrots on one end.
right, because carrots could be, they dry out really easily. So they say if you do that, then you cover with a board, it keeps the moisture in.
Mhm.
So that's more about moisture. And that's for carrots and moisture more than.
That's all I got.
So
Jen.
how long, let me ask, how long do you leave the board on?
Until like it's a couple of days, right? Like they're
Right,
really.
I would say, a week, a few weeks until they start
week.
coming up.
Yeah.
So you start seeing stuff come
You
up.
check it
Okay.
every day or maybe twice a day.
Okay,
When something starts coming up, you
okay,
And we
good.
talked, and second question, what's your mulching strategy? We discussed that, I guess.
well, no,
I-
I don't know that we did. So
Okay,
let's say somebody's just put turnip seeds in. I mean, you don't want to cover it so
Yeah, no.
so you wait till it comes up and then
Oh,
you
that's
start
true.
mulching. Is
Yeah.
that
Right.
What I
Yes.
do is I get the bed ready, and then I let it sit I water it, and I let it sit for a week so that the seeds that are there
Yeah.
germinate, and then I kill them, and then I go sow, because I figure I get rid of the competition, because all you want to do is really get rid of the competition. Then I sow the seeds I want to put in, and I at least wiped out the seeds that we're gonna start growing at the same time as, let's say, the bean seeds I was gonna plant. And then I wait till the seeds like if I'm gonna plant beans, I'll wait till the seeds start to germinate enough, and then I'll put a mulch down maybe like a couple weeks after they germinate. But I tend not to do anything with direct mulching when I seed at the same time I seed it, because it just gets too difficult to try to figure out.
Yeah, that was
If you-
true. Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I usually
No.
wait. I usually wait also, right? Put the seeds in, then when things come up to a little, when they're discernible, then I'll put a lot of then I'll start putting the straw.
Yeah.
Does anybody
I wanna
soak
go
their
back-
seeds?
Sorry.
Anyone
Hmm?
soak seeds? Certain, like
Oh, yeah.
peas I
Peas,
soaked before I put them
always.
in. Beans.
Now, beans
Um,
I just throw in. They grow, if you put them at the right time, they're gonna come up in like 4 or 5 days because you're putting
Okay.
them in warm weather.
Yeah.
I soak beets, peas, sometimes Swiss chard. Most everything else I just throw in the ground.
So when you
I'm gonna go-
soak it, you just leave, you're not waiting for them to sprout before you put them in the
No.
ground,
No.
you are.
No, like if I'm planting the peas on Sunday, then Saturday or Friday, whenever I remember, I dump like this time I did the whole bag. I didn't buy a pound. So I put them into a container at home and I just let them sit in that water. I changed the water once and they just sit in there and then I take them over to the garden. And what happens is, when you buy dried peas, you know how like little and shriveled up they are?
Mhm.
Well, the pea has to expand before it's ever going to germinate. So when you're putting them in the soil early, you've got the crazy weather, maybe the irrigation isn't on yet. So you want to get them started, you want to give them a fighting chance and have them plumped up already. Same with
Okay.
beets. I soak my beets for a day or two before I put them in.
Okay.
Speeds up germ. I want to go back to the straw for a minute. Just, I don't know if you all know, but Sweetman's Farm over on County One, they sell straw, and in the fall they were selling it for $5 a bale, which is really good price. So we're talking about using all this straw. It's not the compressed kind, but good straw resource.
That's good.
What's-
Thank you.
Straw went up a lot the last year. I used to get the bales of the compressed chopped straw from
Yeah.
Adams. Went from like 14 or 15.99 to I think 20.99.
I know. Yeah,
now
because I would buy them.
Sarah,
Yeah,
what's the name of the place that has that straw?
Sweetman's Farm on County One.
Sweedman?
Sweetman, Sweetman.
Oh, okay, great.
Christy
dairy
or
farm.
Chad, could you dump that in the chat, the address for that?
They're a dairy farm and they grow some of the best sweet corn you've ever eaten because they don't spray it. They have a farm stand there. But yeah, they have straw, a lot of straw.
I'm also
Okay.
just gonna throw this out there. Sometimes I go on Facebook Marketplace and I'll find people like local farmers that are just doing it, and I have it delivered, which is beautiful. And I've paid like $6-7 a bale, but I'm getting like 20 of them because I do the deep method. So I'll leave it in the back. And especially this time of year, I like getting the first cuttings because it hasn't really had time to go to seed yet. Like it'll get high, but once they do their first clipping, I'm still pretty safe on the seed portion of that. So if you just go on Marketplace and you look, you can find it for a good deal too.
If you want to
Thanks.
spend more money, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you want, but at Adams they have cocoa bean hulls, and I used to use that before my budget got a little tighter, and it was very expensive, but it was a really good mulch. It looked really beautiful. It was like this dark brown, and the best part was when you put it on the when you first laid it down for maybe the first couple of weeks, it smelled like chocolate. So.
I've used that in the past. I
But
agree.
it's expensive. It's very,
Yeah.
it was expensive 5 years ago, and it's gotten more expensive, and it's hard to find now. They just don't carry that much because and also it runs out really quick, and they usually don't restock, so you got to get it early. straw's better. It's, you know, I switched to straw.
The other thing I like to use is mulch leaves, shredded leaves.
Yeah, that's very
As
good.
I mentioned before, trying to get it from, you know, people put it out by the road in bags, and so I take it home, and I've got a leaf blower that can run in reverse and shred them. I've got an extra one of those that if anybody wants, let's give them a deal if they would make a donation to Grow Local Greenwood Lake there. But that's you know, the every year the trees, their roots sort of dig deeper and deeper in the ground for minerals, and they put it up in their leaves, and then they throw it down at our feet, and a lot of people just sweep them out of the way. But they're a great resource for a gardener.
The last couple of years, I've been raking the leaves and putting them into bags and putting them into the garden and letting them not over winter, but just storing them in the garden. And then in the springtime, this spring, actually, one of my raised beds, I dug all the soil out and I replaced it with the leaves, and then I put maybe a 6-inch layer on top. I did that with another bed a couple of years ago, and it turns into this really nice leaf mold after 2 or 3 years, and the soil's like incredible. So, but anyway, yeah. So like same with Michael, like, you know, I could have just bought a chopper up there and chopped it up. But you can I store them in the winter. I just grab them and store them in the winter, and then in the springtime, I have all these leaves, and they're great. They're great source of nutrients for the soil.
Yeah.
Okay, we're trying to keep to our time. Does anyone do any warm-up exercises before gardening? Little gymnastics?
Oh yeah, I drink coffee.
I notice I get out in the spring, and the first time out there, something will happen, and I start feeling my back, and I think, gosh, I should do some warm-up exercises, and then, nah.
I think Michael's
Doesn't
gonna plan
happen,
a gardening workout video.
Yes.
I have
My
another
gardening
question.
is my workout.
That's right.
Me too.
What does anybody have any tips and tricks for picking up pine cones?
My many years ago, we had huge pine cone trees around our house when I lived up in Wallkill, and my husband would pay our kids in the neighborhood kids. I think it was a penny. He started a nickel a piece to pick up the pine cones, but he was losing too much money, so he switched it to a penny, and we lost all our workers. So
That's
get the
good.
kids in the neighborhood.
That's what I said to my husband earlier. I was like, do you think I could get like our son to just start putting them in the bucket? But what is the reward? What are we working towards, really?
Nicole, what are you going to use them for? Like, well, like just out of curiosity.
I mean, just so I don't have projectiles when I start mowing the lawn in like 2 months,
Oh,
you know?
I thought you were going to use them for like mulch or something like that, or chop them up. I thought
mean,
you had
I'm
some.
not opposed to it, but they have to be
Also-
so many.
Also, depending on the kind, ours were like these, they were very tight, you know, with kind of smooth, and you'd step on it walking through the yard and you'd go flying, you know, so.
Yes, that's ours too. They're like long and skinny.
Yeah.
The trees are really tall.
Yep.
But you just
Right.
chopped them all.
We have those trees where I work, and of course there's a landscape service, but they come in, they just did spring cleanup, and they come in with the blowers and they blow them out of the way. So if you blow them, you'll have them corralled. Like
Yeah.
I learned to blow put my leaves on the tarps and then drag the tarp into the woods from a landscape guy who was helping me. It
Mhm.
makes it much easier.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a great idea.
I wonder if you chopped them up, if you put them through like a leaf blower or chopped them up, if they would make a good mulch.
Probably.
My leaf blower would not digest those.
Yeah,
Oh,
Would
that-
not work.
okay.
That would not work.
Okay.
But
No,
I know my brother has something he calls a chipper chopper. It runs on, it's a big gas powered engine. And I think it would do it.
Wouldn't
I don't know what to do with
wouldn't pine cones be too acidic? Or is that just the needles?
They have like gummy, they have like gummy stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't know,
just
I would try it.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Let us know how that works out, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, I gotta find a chopper. So
The only thing I could think of, like we have that black walnut retriever basket thing that like you roll the hole and it picks
Yes.
them up.
Yeah.
I didn't know but pine cones are all rigid and have different scallops. I would imagine they get caught. That thing's not gonna work.
yeah. And somebody mentioned they're gummy too, so they'd probably get all stuck up in the machine. And you're right. I forgot about that. They're all, yeah.
All right, everyone, I hate to break up this pine cone conversation, but we're gonna end right on time. And thank you all again for a great session. Now, so from for April, May, and June, we're gonna be meeting the second and fourth Monday of the month. So that's, you could count on that. And when do we switch to 8 o'clock on in July?
When it gets dark, when it gets
it gets-
darker later.
Later.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you all. Again, spread the word about these
you.
Zoom garden
Thank
plots, and you
you.
feel free to ask more questions, and very excited to see the progress of everyone's garden. Thank you all.
You know, I want to mention a couple things. It's really nice when more people turn up.
Oh,
There are
good
turnip
old-
lovers around here, and you know, it would really nice. So, and we have a flyer. If you're around some place, or you're talking to other gardeners, and you know of a place to put up a flyer, you know, that'd be good. And
Do
the
you have-
other
do you have
thing,
it on the website? Can we print it off and do it, or like is it on the website? The
We'll
flyer.
put it there. We can put it there.
'Cause I'll put
Christy
it on,
is-
I'll
Right.
put it on our community board. I want our community, I want my community garden to know about this more. I want people to get more involved. I've been spreading the word, but if we have it on the community board, it would help a lot.
I'll have it on the Zoom garden plot
Thank you so much.
page. All right, and it'll be like a download. You'll download a
Okay.
PDF, okay?
I guess, do we
Thank
ever
you.
post on, do we ever put it on the Warwick sites? I guess we should do that, like Hello Warwick Valley and.
right? We should do that. We should, yeah.
Well, again, thank you all.
But then
My
again, we
sen-
should also be writing down everything we plant and where and when. But do
Exactly.
we?
And stretching.
My-
And
my-
stretching.
My
And we
son's
should do
about to
our
start making
stretching before we-
popcorn, so it's gonna get very loud in here. So thank you all. Take care.
Thank
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Good
Peace out,
night.
everyone. Peace out.
Bye bye.